I'm going to ask you a question. And before you answer it, I want you to think about it before you do. And when you do answer it, I want you to give an honest answer rather than a generic answer that you'd give anybody that asked you how you were doing out in public. You know, not just oh, I'm good, but a real answer. Are you happy with your life? Like truly happy with who you are, where you are in life, and what you've done in your life? Because I don't think a lot of people are. I don't. Just based off of what I see and how people navigate and present themselves in life. You see, it's one thing to not be happy. That's not what's dangerous. What's dangerous is to not be happy and to not do anything about it or be in pursuit of doing something about it. My name is Ger'rell King. I help people get fit for the game of life. I spent at least 2 decades studying how some men and people become successful and how others just sit around doing nothing, stuck where they're at, or watching videos, you know, but never doing anything about what they learn or see. So let's talk about it. So the first issue is most people outsource their happiness. I see this all the time and everywhere. People will tie their happiness to external things. Their car, their relationship, their job, their kids, their money, their personal belongings, material, something along those lines. People will only be happy based off of them having those things in their life. And then when you remove those things from their life, they're no longer happy. They're depressed, they're sad, they're in a state of panic, chaos. You know, they don't know what to do because they've built their whole life and their identity and their happiness around it being attached to those things or that person or those people. This will never work out for someone in the long term because true happiness has to be from within. It can't be tied to external factors. There was a time where I used to be, and I would be, in a bad mood anytime that I didn't have money. If I was broke, oh man, if I didn't have money, if my bank account was below a certain number, I was not the type of person that you would want to be around. I was cranky, moody, like angry. You know, just there was always an issue. Like I would take it out on the people around me, but I would always just be like, my self-worth felt like it wasn't there because I didn't have any money. And there's a thin line between, you know, what that actually should be and look like as a guy, because, you know, typically our role is to be able to provide, but at minimum, you need to be able to provide for yourself. So to feel like you can't even provide for yourself, I felt inadequate, you know, and it would bother me. I would be depressed and I'd, you know, be stressed out at times. But there came a time where I later realized that I wasn't going to allow my finances to determine how I behaved. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew that I couldn't just allow what was in my bank account to like affect my character, my choices, my decisions. I knew that it needed to be motivating. I knew that I couldn't just sit around doing nothing, like, and just accept it. I knew that I had to get up, hustle, grind, make something happen, and shouldn't just be sitting at home mad at the world and mad at myself, which I didn't do. But that was one example of me realizing that my happiness cannot be tied to external factors. It has to be from within. That matters because nothing's forever. Anything that you have in this life is temporary. Nothing's permanent. The car is not permanent. The job isn't permanent. The relationship isn't permanent. The iPhone isn't permanent. The laptop isn't permanent. The PlayStation 5 isn't permanent. None of these things are permanent because life itself is not permanent. Everything is temporary. So it makes no sense to tie your happiness to any of the things that I've listed or discussed, because you won't have those things forever. It has to come from within. It has to be from yourself. And that's just what it has to be. So you have to figure out what inside of you will bring you the happiness that you're looking for in life. And then you move forward with that. So one reason why people aren't happy is because they settle. And settling is very, very dangerous. It goes back to what I said earlier. It's one thing to not be happy. That's not what's dangerous. What's dangerous is not being happy and not doing anything about it. And one of the ways that you don't do something about it is you settle. You accept less than what you want for yourself. And I'll do another video on this separately because I could just talk about this by itself, and I will. But the thing about settling is there's a difference between being content with what you have and then settling. There's a fine line between being content and settling, because it's okay to be content. You can be satisfied. I think content can be tied to satisfaction, where you're like, hey, this could be better, but it could be worse. The thing is, you should still strive for the better rather than accepting it as is and just riding it out. But if things were to not improve, you still have a mindset of, I'm still content with where I got to, but my goal is to get further. You should always be striving to get further. What's dangerous about settling is because it allows you to be comfortable in being unhappy. Your unhappiness becomes normal to you. It becomes your standard, because that's what you accept and continue to endure, rather than taking the steps necessary to improve the circumstances. That's dangerous because you're lying to yourself. And we all know that a lie has to be maintained. You have to keep a lie going. Once you tell that lie and it's out there, you have to keep feeding that lie to keep it alive. And if you're lying to yourself, there's only so long that you can keep that up. You can keep it up for a long time if you are good at lying, but who wants to be good at lying first and foremost? The truth will set you free. You'll be a lot more at peace being honest with yourself than lying, because you know internally that lie is not true and it's going to bother you. There's going to be an internal conflict that bothers you because you know you are faking, you're lying, you're putting on a front. And that front is that you are happy when you really are not happy. And you're putting on that front to the world, your neighborhood, your community, your friends, your family, and you're doing yourself a disservice and you're doing them a disservice. Why? Because you are not happy with who you are and what you've done in your life. But you're pretending to be happy for whatever reason, rather than doing what it takes and is required to actually truly experience the happiness that you'd like to have and that peace. When I was 25, I lived in New York. I lived in New York from 23 to 25. And I went to New York originally to work on music. For those who don't know, I have a background in the music industry, multi-platinum records, broke records, music and all kinds of TV shows, commercials, all that stuff. That's a different story. But I lived in LA and I moved to New York. And I originally went to New York to make music. I had some opportunities. I wanted to pursue them. I was excited about it. But once I got there, things changed, circumstances changed. And next thing you know, 2 years had gone by and I was just living there. I had 2 jobs. I went through a breakup. All of my friends were in LA. My other friends were traveling. My musician friends were traveling and living in other countries, working gigs that I eventually would go do myself. But I remember waking up one day and it was an epiphany. A light bulb had went off. I woke up one day and realized that I needed to leave. It was time for me to get out of New York. And I love New York. I had some of the best experiences of my life living in New York. It's one of my favorite cities next to Miami. But I woke up and I said, I have to go. And I went to my boss that day at work. I worked at 24 Hour Fitness. And I went to 24 Hour Fitness and went to my boss and I said, I need to transfer back to LA, like as soon as possible, immediately. I was kind of like frazzled. And they were like, whoa, calm down. Like, why? What's going on? Like, talk to us. And I had to explain to them in a more simple way compared to how it registered to me that I'm just living here. I came here for a reason. I'm no longer pursuing that reason the way that I should be. And now I'm just existing here. I'm just doing normal things that I could do anywhere. I could do these normal things, get up and go to work and go to the gym and watch TV and just kind of do like my normal life anywhere. It didn't have to be in New York, but in New York, I was by myself because all my friends, my family, they all lived everywhere else. So I was there alone and I went there to go make money and to do music, but I wasn't even really doing that. I was making music, but I wasn't doing it at the level that I had went there to do it at. I had a few opportunities, they fell through. And then I just kept riding it out. I just stayed there because I liked New York so much. But I had to do something about it. I couldn't just settle for living in New York when I knew that I had music goals that I needed to achieve and to continue to pursue. And eventually I left. Within like 2 months, I was gone. And within another year, I was in New Zealand, which is where I got my first multi-platinum record. So, small story, but I refused to settle for just an average life in New York when I knew I had dreams and goals to pursue. The good thing about being unhappy is it's data, it's information. It's giving you information that will allow you to then make a decision. You see, if you don't know you're unhappy, then you can't change your circumstances. They say the same thing about like addiction, right? Or like having a problem. They say the first step to solving a problem or being sober or breaking an addiction is realizing that you have a problem. So you have to first acknowledge the problem. So it's not a bad thing that you answer that question and your answer is no, I'm not happy with my life. It's a good thing because now you can sit and pinpoint and think about why. Why are you unhappy with your life? What has happened in your life that has caused you to be unhappy? You see, the big thing is you only live once, but you can change your circumstances starting today. I asked you that question because I recently had surgery. That's why you see the picture that's in the thumbnail. And they had to put me under, I had to go under anesthesia. And my whole life, that's always been my motivation is, life isn't forever. So I want to make life what I want it to be. Life is what you make it. So when I was getting ready to have surgery, I'm thinking, all right, what if this is the end? What if I go under and I never come back up? Am I happy with what I've done in my life? And that answer is yes, because every day I get up and I make sure that I pursue my goals and that I do the things that I feel are important to me, that are in alignment with the things that will bring me the fulfillment that I'm seeking. And a lot of it is self-fulfillment, just doing it alone, doing whatever that task is or being in a pursuit of that. I find satisfaction in and happiness in just that alone. But you have to take that information and really process it and pinpoint the areas in your life that are the source of that unhappiness. What choices did you make? What choices haven't you made? And how are they hurting you? Because once you have that information, now you can do something. Now you can start to strategize. Now you can start to ask for help. Now you can start to invest and, buy the things, the tools, surround yourself with people, get the coaching, mentorship, education, whatever it is that you need that'll start moving you forward away from the unhappiness and closer to that happiness. And that's my main point is happiness isn't found. Like some people say like, oh, they're looking to be happy. They're looking for happiness. Will Smith did the movie, The Pursuit of Happiness. He talks about it in that movie that he questioned why they said in the pursuit of happiness. He questioned if happiness was even obtainable, or is it something that's a mirage and that you're constantly striving to achieve and obtain, but may not ever get. A lot of people say you need to fall in love with the journey and not the end goal. But for you to get to that point, you have to build happiness. Happiness has to be created. It has to be built based off of what defines happiness for you. What would need to be in your life? What choices would you need to be doing to achieve what you would like to achieve, so that when I ask you, are you happy with with your life and what you've done with your life? The answer is yes. But to build whatever is required based off of your goals and your happiness, it's going to require discipline. It requires work. Everything that's worth anything on this planet and in this life that's valuable is going to take work. It's going to be rare. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be convenient. It's not going to fall in your lap. It has to be built. And the way that you build it is discipline. Discipline, discipline, discipline. It is the best word that I could use to describe what is going to take for you to get happy. And I want you to be happy. I know you want to be happy. That's why you're watching this video. But for you to get there, it's going to require discipline. And that discipline is going to come with sacrifice. It's going to come with spending money. It's going to come with missing out on things where your friends are out partying and your girl wants to hang out, or your job wants you to work extra hours, whatever it is. Your family is inviting you to this event, someone's birthday, someone's anniversary, someone whatever. It's going to require you to say no. I can't do it. I can't come. I'm going to have to miss this one. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Because you have to focus on eliminating all the things that are in your life and undoing all the bad choices that you've made, so that you can rebuild what needs to be built to actually be happy with yourself. Because you'll be a lot happier with yourself in the long run by sacrificing things in the short term. And it might not even be short, depending on what it's going to require. But think about it. How long have you spent your life being unhappy? How many choices did you make that you need to undo? You have to be that much more aggressive undoing those things just to break even. Then get above ground. Then get your head above water. So you got to make a lot of good choices in a very consistent, strategic way every day, with no excuses, without distractions. Not everyone's going to understand, but that's what it's going to take. So here's what I want you to take away from this video. Stop outsourcing your happiness. Stop settling. Stop allowing yourself to be comfortable being unhappy, and be honest with yourself. And then acknowledge that you are unhappy with where you are in life, and use that as information to then be more strategic with what you need to change, and then be disciplined enough to show up every day and make those changes every day, and be consistent with that every day until you get the results that you want for yourself, and until you feel that happiness and that fulfillment. This life is all a game. It really is. It's just a game. It's a game with rules. Some people cheat, some people cut corners, but at the end of the day, it's a game. But the one thing that will help you navigate and win this game is, first, you need to know where you rank, what your score is in the game. Because to win a game, usually it requires a score, some kind of point system, or, ranking, or knowing where you fit in the ranks compared to the other players. And everyone else in this world are the other players. So the first thing that you need to do is know where you rank in this game of life. So I put together an assessment. Click the link in the description below and take the assessment. Take the assessment, and it's going to walk you through a series of questions that will help you understand where it is that you rank in this game. It's going to give you your game of life score. And from there, you'll see what areas of your life that you're struggling in, the areas that in your life that you're excelling in, and then you can start to strategize, like I said, on your weak points and have a better idea of what you need to do to improve going forward. So that's all I have for you today. If you found this video helpful, do me a favor, hit the like button. If you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel. Click the link in the description below. Find out what your score is. I guarantee you it will be the best thing that you find out about yourself all week. You'll be surprised, but you'll be grateful. Until next time, peace.